show mercy. She is smarter than most.
Seeing apes do human things is a fascinating thing to watch. And seeing ape societies develop, and will they make the same mistakes that we made, that's another fascinating thing too.
I've been doing post-apocalyptic setting stuff for quite a while now, actually, even before I became a director. Right? I've been making shorts that have been following this stuff. And I've always liked the romantic notion of starting over, of something new happening, right? And so I didn't want to do kind of the smoldering ashes of a world thing. And obviously, and I think in Dawn and War in particular, you do kind of set up this idea that mankind is on their last breath, essentially, and infrastructure is almost gone, and you leave that last movie with essentially seeing humans destroying themselves in a final kind of battle. And so I thought what was going to be really fun is to have a big cut, in our case, a couple hundred years, where what would happen when humans are gone.
Wes's vision boards and the things we've seen, it's such a beautiful, terrifying world where nature has just taken back what's hers, and the skyscrapers just eaten by vines and rivers, raging rivers running through cities, and so it's an incredible world, and it's a world I've always really loved, and I think, Wes is such a visual director, so I think it's going to be pretty mind-blowing.
Are you familiar with the concept of evolution?
We hired Alain Gauthier, who created Cavalia. He's out of the Cirque du Soleil, and he's a tremendous creative force. He put together a training program for our actors to really learn how to be apes, how to embody the physicality, how to lose their humanness and embrace their apeness.
It was really, for me, about to first get them to become aware of their body. So I developed a series of exercises for them to augment and develop their new neural pathways.
We started doing these improvs where we would be in a room and we would throw a ball back and forth as apes with, the kind of hands that apes have. We would just toss a ball. And it began, what I'm describing is the first instance of this, but it started happening almost every day, where we would do an exercise, and that exercise would grow into an improvisation that had no, setup. It wasn't okay, you are going to do this, and here's the situation, go. It was just we're tossing a ball back and forth, and suddenly we're trying to get it from each other, and now we're putting it on each other's heads, and now we're chasing each other, and now the whole room is in a frenzy of playing with these tennis balls.
Alain is such a gentle master at bringing us together, and he really looks for what we naturally hold and how we can evolve that into our character.
It's very easy to slip back into, being a human being. And so the trick is always to try to, even keeping your hands, with the extensions, or just your legs squatted and your feet out, and knowing that they have these feet that look like this. And that's the tricky business. And thank goodness we had Alain there to just keep us, remind us each, pay attention to this, watch your, don't step too wide.
Alain was incredible in his guardianship of us, his stewardship, and as a coach and as a mentor. He set the tone.
We worked with Alain for a number of weeks, and I think it's just to create an awareness of what the body is doing, that we move differently.
Legend says ape and human lived side by side. Impossible as that may seem.
They are true artists. They are not just, computer tech nerds. People don't totally appreciate the artistry and sort of storytelling, filmmaking, craftsmen that these people at Weta are. And it starts with Eric Winquist, our VFX supervisor.
Wes has a very, I think, fantastic visual imagination, and so a pitch through a sequence meeting for the team, you get through that process with Wes very animatedly, kind of talking through the storyboards, and then he does this, lots of sound effects. You get through that process, and you've seen the film, you've seen the sequence in your mind. You're like, I want to watch that movie. So it really, I think he's really great at getting everybody jazzed about the project. Getting everybody jazzed about what we're about to set out.
I knew it was a mocap film. I've done dots on faces before, never to this extent. And it's just a whole thing with, you see the avatar kind of what the human looks like as a monkey in really raw form. And of course I know all the concept art and pictures of what the characters will look like or close to when they finish.
Production design is so stunning, and working with this technology is so liberating, because even when you're not on an actual practical set, you have a really good idea of what it's going to be, because they already have these worlds.
It's a travel picture. We're not in one place for very long, so I'm building massive sets for sometimes an eighth of a page. We drop in, we see it, and we move on. So it's ever changing, and there's a lot to soak in, and you get that sort of road picture aspect to it, which is fantastic. We have a lot of horses in the film, that sort of thing going on, and that sort of character development as we go with our young character. So I think there's it's a great adventure ultimately.
Every aspect of a role, like all the physical stuff, the stunt stuff, it's all like every part of it is you putting something into May, and also getting something back from that, stunt or that, in terms of like it helps you kind of have a sense of what she's kind of going through.
Freya is probably one of the most beautiful runners you'd ever see. Like, her physicality for running is just fantastic. There's no doubt about it. And she was, from our first conversation when we first met, it was very clear that she wanted to do as much of her action as possible. And I hear that all the time, but she genuinely is an athlete. And Freya's super keen to be involved, and she's very capable.
He had some very specific horses that he wanted to choose from. Colours were a big thing, size was a big thing, matching the horses to the actors was a big thing. So we pretty well presented him with a series of horses to have a look at, and he handpicked the horses for cast that he wanted.
I've ridden donkeys, but I'd never ridden horses because of where I grew up. But it was just the most exhilarating thing to learn a new skill.
In their time, humans were capable of many great things. Noah! They could fly like eagles fly. They could speak across oceans. But now it is our time, and it is my kingdom.
I got a shirt that's older than Wes, and he has such glee at making movies. When he's describing the scene, he can't help himself but to act it out, but not just what the actors are doing. He does the bombs and the wind and the gunshots, or there aren't any gunshots, but he says, and you come in, you go, whoa, and then
Wes could be a stunt performer, I think, or a performer. Even in meetings, he'll get up and act through the action that he's interested in. So quite often I can just pull my phone out and film him in his briefings, and really that's what we know we're going to do.
He wanted it to be really real, gritty, and not too stylized in the sense of making it too Hollywood, in the sense of making everyone beautiful and pretty.
He's very visual, so when he comes and talks to you about a scene, he sort of gives you an energy. He describes the essence of what that scene is trying to achieve.
We went into one of the production rooms and he took us through all the concept art and told us the whole story through the concept art. He pretty much performed it for us. It was just the most wonderful afternoon to see the boyish, no ego excitement that he carries.
The fact that we took this leap forward to kind of do our own thing, but still stay true and honored to not just the previous trilogy, but all the movies that have come before us. I hope people will appreciate that. We try to do our own thing, but still, you know, honored what came before.
This is important.